I'd like to mention, chaps,
Yeah.
that knowing that, obviously, I'm doing a little bit of multitasking here, you see.
Right.
And I've actually done this entire podcast while sitting in the bath. Can you hear
That's
this?
good to know.
It must be cold.
My aching and haggard body needs a soak, and I thought, well, I could do this while wandering around the room.
Right.
I thought, why not combine them and just sit in a big hot bath of Epsom salts and soak all my muscles while talking to the guys, you know what I mean?
Give the Drummer Some is sponsored by Supernova Drum Company. Bespoke drums made with unique shell combinations using many different species of wood. Supernova Drum Company. Truly custom drums. Visit supernovadrums.com and facebook.com/supernovadrumco for more details.
There is an inexorable force in the cosmos where time and space converge. A place beyond man's vision, but not his reach. It is the most mysterious and awesome point in the universe.
Unbearable suspense and sadistic terror grip the senses as these human transplants threaten the safety of a city.
Flying saucers have invaded our planet. Washington, London, Paris, Moscow are key targets. The whole world is under attack. Hold on to your chairs, folks, for here they are.
Give the drummer some.
Take that crazy rhythm.
It's nice to see you back in the old groove again, Daddy.
14 mounted toms, 8 floor toms, 4 splashes, 2 gongs, 10 cowbells, 4 rides, 5 snares, man. A roto-tom rack. And it's all mounted on my infamous quadruple kick drum system.
Hey! Please touch my drum set! Hey, knock it off!
Good evening, friend.
Welcome to Give the Drummer Some, a podcast where we'll be talking to well-known drummers and industry names and asking them all about their other interests away from the drums. We all know them as the masters of keeping time, but what really makes them tick? Joining us today is... Will you just stop it? Just wait. Right, I'll do it now, alright? Just wait. Joining us Stop it! Joining us today is... Alright, just get on with it. It's Quince Neal. So, what's new in the world of you, Quince?
Cormorants.
Sorry?
Cormorants.
Well, what do you mean, cormorants?
I've had a psychic vision that the drummer this week will say the word cormorants.
Right. I don't get... What?
I just had this feeling.
Well, where have you had this feeling?
Well, I'd rather not say, to be honest.
Quince, jeez.
No. I bet you £20 he says cormorants.
Yeah, alright, you're on. Over time, as the word on this podcast gets out, we'll be asking you to tell us what drummers you want us to have a conversation with and what question you would like us to ask them. To do that, simply follow us at facebook.com/GTDSpod and on twitter.com/GTDSpod, and hopefully we'll pick out your questions to be answered. You can also check out our main website at gtdspod.com for more information on us and of course on this very podcast. No, not again. You've had your chance. Come on, it's Mr. Announcer's turn now. Go on, shut up. Mr. Announcer, please announce the guest drummer for today.
Today's guest drummer is best known for his work with Rachel Stamp, Bruce Dickinson, Bernie Tormé, T.M. Stevens, and his own awe-inspiring drum clinics. He is a session drummer, clinician, and teacher who has played with over 65 bands throughout his career, including a now infamous TV performance with Faith No More. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robin Guy. Robin is endorsed by Natal Drums, Sabian Cymbals, Aquarian Drumheads, Thick Firth Sticks, Protection Record Cases, Rhythm Tech, Audio Technica, and Barsky.
So we were doing a bit of research, and what's it like putting a drumstick through your eyelid?
You don't want to research that too much, you know what I what's it like is, well, firstly, it's like as a kid, you know, when you get into scrapes and you fall off your bike and you graze your knee, you know, and all that kind of stuff that we've all done as kids, you know, collecting bruises and whatnot. At least you can see the damage.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I've cut my thumb. I've got a splinter in my toe. You can see it, and that relates to the kind of pain, and sometimes that makes it, you know, worse. Going, oh God, look at that scar. It looks really terrible. But I don't know about you, but when you do something that you can't see, it's actually worse.
Yeah, sure.
And it makes your whole body go into shock. Kind of, you go a bit cold and pallid. And I did this sort of crazy fill kind of thing at the end of a song, which I'd never really done before, and it ended up me sort of basically jerking my head forward with my sticks as if you got a knife and fork on a plate going, where's my food, sort of sticking up, and they were on my snare drum, and so I kind of head-butted my stick with my eye, and the stick won. On stage about a week, no, on stage about a third of the way through our concert, which was fairly gnarly. But also it was the fact that I was on a 55-date tour in about 60 days, so it was just absolutely ridiculous. You know, and no days off really, and the days off were like 13-hour drives and whatnot in a minibus in the States. I mean, it was pretty hardcore. But yeah, so I did this thing, this act of impalement, you know, and I didn't really realise what I'd done, but I kind of realised I'd done something bad when sort of, you know, half of my vision became red. And then I just sort of did a bit of a Rocky Balboa going sort of, you know, like waving my hands up going, guys. And they sort of turned around and freaked out, went, oh my God. And it instantly went into sort of an acoustic number, which for a sort of hardcore punk rock band is a little bit strange to say. So I'm sort of, just, you know, what do you do next? Your whole body's sort of gone cold. And you're thinking, what the hell have I done? You know, have I stuck my eye out? Is this it for me? Have I, you know, and you're on stage in front of God knows how many sort of, you know, I don't know, 1,000 people or something in Atlanta, Georgia. And we had this tech, I say tech very, very loosely. He's more of a sort of gangbanger kind of guy who basically wanted to come on stage and hang out and look how tough I am and let everybody in the audience know that he was, you know, down with the posse and all that kind of stuff. He had his arm in a sling from what I don't even want to think about. But the one thing he slightly attempted to do, which was remotely good on the tour, was to think, Robin needs some ice. So he ran backstage and got a bucket of ice and ran up the steps to the stage so quickly that he tripped. He tripped on the top step when, you know, am I allowed to say arse over tit?
Yeah,
you know,
work away.
You know, he went for a tumble and dislocated his shoulder.
Oh, no.
So it's like the Pinky and Perky show right here, you know. You got one guy sprawled out on his, you know, on the stage. They got this sort of punk rock band sort of strumming, you know, some delicate chords. You know, he's got me, he's going, you know, Adrian! And like a trooper, I kind of closed my eye and said, all right, I'll carry on the show. And we you know, played the rest of the set. Even threw in a couple of stick spins just to sort of fool everyone I was completely fine, you know. And then went backstage, and of course me, I don't know whether it's like, you know, the British true grit or just complete ignorance, but I was like, I'll be fine, just a dab of Savlon and a glass of plast. What's the worst thing that can be? It's a cut. It's been grazed, and sure, it doesn't feel too good right now, but I'm sure it's just a cut, and we can plaster it up, and my body will heal. And all I remember is lying backstage on this grotty sofa with these people coming into my periphery, like looking over, a bit like, you know, in these hospital films where you see the point of view from the patient and peering over with forceps and stuff. It was a bit like that, and all they were doing is looking and going, ugh, and sort of shaking their head and they're leaving. And I was thinking, that's not too good, is it? Maybe you might need a bit more than a Band-Aid and some Savlon. So about, I don't know, 1 a.m, I got shipped off to this hospital, and of course everyone's out there going, don't say anything about the club or the accident, or, you know, because everyone's so sort of trigger happy Sue wise, you know, that they were paranoid that, like, you know, it would get back to the club and then the club would be sued for damages. I don't even know. So bang goes any sort of shot at me getting a bit of British ego rub, going, I'm a British pop star, take care of me, yo. You know, it was more like, I was in the restroom at a party, and I turned around to dry my hands on the towel that was hooked on the back of the door, and someone walked in the door really quickly to the restroom, and the door hit my face, and I got sort of knocked on the ground with this hook. So it was basically like, hi, I'm a dickhead, could you patch me up, please? So, you know, I was expecting them to go, oh my God, you know, Princess Di, you know, and all that kind of, and get a real good old sort of, you know, pampering. And in the end, I saw 13 nurses, 13, doctors or whatever, through the course of the night. And at one point, I think the lowest point in my life at that point was lying in a corridor, waiting yet again to be seen, clutching some papers or whatever, literally lying in a pool of sort of congealed sweat and blood. And I saw 3 guards pulling pistols running past me. Oh. And at that point, I really wanted my mummy. It's like 3:30 a.m. I'm on my sort of, 9th doctor, and I see 3 guys pulling pieces in a hospital. It's like, it's not really kind of stuff you see as an English kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
It was pretty crazy. And then, of course, a friend of mine said later on, later on in my life, like, well, what hospital did you go to? I said, I don't know. It's a hospital. He went, well, there's a couple in Atlanta, and one's notorious. It's called Grady Hospital, and they patch up the local inmates from the prison.
Oh God.
Which one I was sent to. Yeah. So, I came out of there at 7 in the morning with my stage gear on still, picked up by the bus, got a bottle of pills in my right hand and a sort of instructions on my left, sort of saying, don't get this wet. I'm thinking, I'm doing a sweaty rock and roll tour, and then the bus picked me up, and we drove to the next show. Cool. Mental, and I remember that night sort of preparing for the show in my hotel room, going like, okay, I've just got to do this, and I've got to keep my head really still, and I've got to keep it dry, and I've got to get every kind of office electric fan or whatever that I could find in the building, and I put it on stage around me to sort of, keep me sort of cool, so I wasn't sweating too much, and because I wanted to fix my eye. I didn't want to sort of jeopardize it by sweating and getting water on it and all this stuff. So I kind of made I ripped up a towel and made a sort of, I had this eye patch, and I ripped up a towel and made a kind of towel turban come bandana thing, and then obviously not to lose rock and roll points, I then put my rock and roll bandana on top of the turban thing. And then as it was our turn to go on, I had to walk through the crowd, and I walked through like a princess, like keeping like a model, and keeping my head dead still, going, don't push me, you know what I mean? And got on stage really sort of demure, and then rocked the hell out of the skit, So yeah, that's not advisable. Don't do this at home, people. It's not good. Luckily, it's healed, and I don't look like a pirate. but during the tour, it was like I said, it's 2 months tour, and every day it would slightly, obviously heal a bit. And I mean, obviously went through all the glorious Technicolor stages of, intense bruising with the sort of yellows and the browns and the blacks, and my eyes slowly started to open, so got rid of the eye patch and got some heavy duty sunglasses, and every now and again I sort of walk down a shopping mall without them, and these kids would be freaking out, going, and because my eye was, the actual white of my eye was literally like a pool ball red, like a snooker ball red. It was really quite freaky. I looked like an extra in a Marilyn Manson video or something, or Day of the Dead, Yeah, and like I said, I had 2 weeks later, I had the stitches out in some gospel kind of, hospice thing, and it's sort of typical, typical Americans, I guess. It was hilarious. The guy was taking the stitches out with this peculiar sort of like nail scissors, but with a little hook on the end. And he's tweaking at me, going, "How you doing there, bud?" I'm going, "I'm okay, I think." And he's tweaking my fresh wound. I'm thinking, God, and it's sort of pulling my eyelid to and fro. He goes, "Hey, that last that last stitch is a little. He doesn't want to come out. I had too much caffeine this morning." I'm going,
Thanks for that.
You know, with this guy's elbow in my face, you know, and he's going, I had a bit too much coffee this morning, you know. And then he gave me the stitch removing nail scissory type thing. So I've got them at home. So, you know, the whole tour wasn't in vain.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. You got a few stories from it.
Oh, God, you don't even know. I mean, you know, just the way my sort of take on life is, you know, if you get to the end of your life and, you know, okay, maybe you've made a gazillion pound or whatever, and that's all good and you can't take it with you. But, you know, if you've got stories out of your life, then you've lived a life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, at some point, you know, when I'll be regaling these, you know, to my, you know, 19 grandchildren or something, you know, and it was the time, you know. So, yeah, you know, maybe not sort of, you know, rich with the fortunes, but sort of rich with some crazy stories of just sort of getting out there on the front line and, you know, engaging in all this craziness, you know what I mean? Or engaging with me, so to speak, you know.
Well, let's go right back to the beginning. When did you start playing the drums?
Well, this is a question I do get asked quite a lot, and it's pretty much... No, but I always say the same thing. The fact is I don't actually know, because I didn't sort of wake up one day and go, Mummy, Daddy, I want to be a drummer, and they turned around and, you know, gave me a 500 quid drum kit, which, you know, some kids... You know, back then, you know, in my little village, that's kind of what happened. And then sort of, you know, 6 months later, they'd have a motorbike to ride around the fields in. And then 6 months later, you know, they'd kind of move on. Whereas I always maintain I was sort of, you know, I was drumming in the womb, so to speak. Because my mum tells me this story ages ago, and I've always said it. It's basically, I was, you know, kicking and moving and drumming and doing the thing. And she said apparently when he comes out, he's going to be a boxer or a drummer.
Oh,
and I refused to let him become a boxer. So that was it. It was written in stone already. You know what I mean? And apparently, I told this to my mum the other day. She goes, "Did I say that?" You know, and she said, "Well, yeah. When you literally, you know, popped out, you had your fists and you were like, you know, air drumming basically." She's like, all you needed is a couple of drumsticks, you'd be away. So that's what I say really. You know, I didn't really sort of, like I said, wake up and go on a course and learn drums or get it. You know, it was like sometimes you know, you choose drumming and sometimes drumming chooses you. And I think with me it was the latter. You know what I mean?
Right. Cool. Did you ever get lessons or were you self-taught?
Self-taught.
Cool.
I listened to a lot of records by the Police, Adam and Ants and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with lessons is a strange one. I mean, I wasn't that interested, to be honest, but I went to my secondary school and I thought, well, maybe I'll have a drum lesson here. You know, and there was a kind of drum kit in a sort of room, and it was amazing. I sat there and, you know, halfway through this lesson, the music teacher went, "You know what, Robin? I hate drums."
Oh, great.
I was just like, well, that's great, isn't it? You know, that's brilliant. How's a guy to get ahead, you know? So that was pretty much it. And I've always, I mean, I do a lot of teaching as well, and I teach what you know, if it's young kids or whatever, I teach them to be inspired and to enjoy themselves primarily, partly because of this whole sort of knee-jerk reaction to sort of not having a good time when I was a kid. I mean, when I was a teenager, I thought, okay, I'll give it another go, you know. Went in, and my dad we went up to London, I think at the time, went to some guy's flat, and I looked around, I couldn't see any drum kits, and I wanted to be, you know, blown out of the water by this guy's humongous 80s rock kit with 13 kick drums or whatever, you know. I thought, you know, if your kit's bigger than mine, I'm interested, you know what I mean? You know, I'll be impressed. So I waltzed in there with all my sort of, you know, check me out, what you got for me, hi, you know. And he had this little sort of polystyrene practice pad on a coffee table. This guy was about 86 years old, you know. And I was not impressed. I was being like, where's the kit, man? You know, where I want to rock, you know. And he said, you got a drum kit? And I said, yeah, you know, it's like pink and it's got like 2 bass drums, 3 rack toms, a big power tower, scaffolding rack system, you know, 28 floor toms. I got 4 crashes, one of them's shaped like an octagon, and 2 chinas on booms. And he just went kind of, you know, it was the ultimate sort of diss kind of put down. Obviously, it was massive words of wisdom I can see now, but back then he would basically said, son, looks like you got a Porsche and you don't know how to drive. That was it. I just, you know, I didn't say, fuck you, you know, but it was pretty much like, Dad, this guy has nothing for me. Let's go. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't remember how long I stayed in there, but what I'm trying to say is, if that was me now teaching me then, I would have looked at the kid and gone, okay, let's relate to this person and see what it is they want out of their thing, rather than just that stock. Okay, sit down. You're going to learn this, and you got to teach the person, not just preach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sure.
I think it's very important.
Oh, sorry. That kit you were describing, was that during your jazz years, or?
Yeah, to embark on my jazz years. Actually. I think when I've got a full beard and stuff like that. But there were certain elements of my life were very jazz at that point. It was brilliant. I mean, the kit was just it was perfect for me. I mean, my first drum kit was this little 4-piece, kind of jazz kit kind of thing. That this kid in my village had, kind of a couple of years older than me, and he would be playing it. I'd get off the school bus and walk home in my folks' village where we lived, and in the summer, the window would be open. I'd hear this drumming, and it would just be like enchanting. And as a kid, anything like that, you just go, wow, check this out. And eventually, blagged my way in, and then we hung out, and I'd go and play on his kit, and then eventually I think he moved on, or discovered girls and cars or whatever, or just got bored, and he sold it. I bought it. I got it for £48,
right.
And it was third hand. And I knew what second hand was because I'd had my sister's second hand blue sweatshirt hand me downs. So excited about that, and so this was third hand. I was like, wow, that's even one removed. But and my pocket money was like £1 a week. So do the maths. You know what I mean? £48 for this thing. So the way I paid it off was like, I got like £5 for Christmas from my aunt and uncle, maybe £10 sort of for the next 50 years from my grandparents, and my parents made me get a little book, a little notebook, and Robin's drum kit installments, that kind of thing. So it gave me a good sort of sense, my upbringing anyway, it was a good sense of sort of, money, basically, didn't have any, and, if you want something, you work hard and you save hard, and eventually you get it,
Sure.
which is still true to this day, don't have any debts, don't have a credit card, and if I want something, I'll work hard, save up and get it, hopefully, Yeah. But yeah, so the first kit was third hand, £48. It had Buddy Rich's signatures on though.
All right.
It had a Buddy Rich signature on, and I met my mum took me to see Buddy Rich a couple of times, and I met him, and he signed a cymbal and another drum. In fact, I didn't even know how the head would come off the drum. So I waltzed in backstage to this queue of autograph hunters. All these kids are holding like a skin for Buddy to sign. I'm holding this drum with a tom arm sticking off it and everything. And I'm just like looking at these kids going, oh, you could take the heads off, So, and then my second kit was this, it was a Tama Imperial Star. Which was kind of like silvery gold, and it had single heads. And of course, by this point, I was a teenager. I got into Iron Maiden. Obviously, Nick McBrain's kit on Live After Death it looked very similar. I mean, it was a Sonar, I think he was playing, but it only had single heads. And when I saw this kit, I was like, that's what I've got to get. And of course, at that time, I wanted a kit like Nico's, which had like a 1-inch tom all the way down to a 50-mile wide tom, I wanted drums, I just wanted big and loads to hit, and that was cool. So had that, and that was fantastic, and kept adding on to that, and that was super cool fun. And then each burster you'd get half of a cymbal or whatnot, and so you'd build it up, and then I saw this kit in Tunbridge Wells. It was a shop called Underground Sounds. It was this pink Vision, just genius. I went, perfect, and that was that really, Well,
who were your early influences?
It's a tricky one. I mean, it's probably a lot of drummers of my sort of era and age will say a similar thing. It's like when you're a kid, obviously back then we didn't have YouTube, internet, all this kind of business and multimedia kind of things and picture messages, all the kind of things that can help influence you, and see what's going on. Yeah. So we had the Muppet Show.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So any kid seeing a crazy ragamuffin dude, with like pink hair or whatnot, going crazy on a kit. I mean, I've read a few interviews with other sort of fellow drummers and peers and whatever, and it's a big, it's a thing, if you're, I was born in 1970, if you grew up in that thing, everyone, watched Top of the Pops and everyone saw the Muppet Show, and if you're a drummer, pretty much it's a done deal, you know. So is that? I mean, my mum taking me to see Buddy Rich. That was obviously mind blowing. She took me to see the Kodo drummers, which is phenomenal. I mean, these guys have like, you know, these really wound tight kind of like piccolo like esque snare kind of vibes. They sit there in their lap and beat the hell out of them. Then right at the back there's this massive great big drum the size of a caravan, and this guy basically has at it, you know, dressed in a very small towel and just is absolutely ripped, and he's got these tree trunks in his hand and just basically beats the hell out of it, and it's a glorious racket and it's insane. And they I think they train on the island of Kodo and get up at sort of 4 a.m. and you know, walk on fire and stuff. But I mean, yeah, those things were fantastic. And but certainly, musical wise, you know, like I was a big fan of the Police. The first records I bought was Ant Music by Adam and the Ants and Baggy Trousers by Madness. Walking on the Moon was a big hit back then, you know, the Police, and, you know, lots of different percussive sounds. I'm a big fan of Stuart Copeland, but not in the sort of traditional, you know, a lot of kids go to music school and they're like, oh, I like Stuart Copeland. You know, for me, it's more just kind of, you know, had a very punky attitude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and with Adam and the Ants, I mean, you know, that stuff's probably the most original sounding music, termed as pop music. Bearing in mind, it was sort of #1 and huge pop stars, but they didn't sound like, you know, normal kind of pop music, you know, it's tribal and stuff. So, I mean, we had a friend of my family's that my dad would run this little village festival, and he'd ask sort of these record companies for, you know, prizes for the raffle and stuff like that. And we'd get sent down these vinyl, and, you know, a couple of them didn't make it to the raffle, if you catch my drift. Yeah. And they had gold stamped on the back from CBS Records, like property of CBS, and I thought that was dead cool. And it was like the Prince Charming record and some Police records, and I was just like, damn, this is it, this is incredible. So yeah, musically, you know, like early Madonna, which is good pop, Duran Duran, which is good pop, and then obviously, you know, Police and Adam and the Ants. That was my kind of musical thing. Then, of course, at the age of 13, I discovered Iron Maiden, and the rest is history.
Sure. Who got you into double bass playing?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I remember seeing the whole sort of twin kick thing, and it's kind of ironic because a lot of people think that, you know, the two bass drums was, you know, purely a heavy metal thing. But, you know, then you sort of do, you know, strum through a few magazines and do a bit of research, you realise that the jazz dudes had double kicks, you know what I mean? And it's you think, wow, that's incredible, you know, and, you know, such a monstrous kit, and you think it's basically for, you know, Kiss or something, you know what I mean? But I'm not really sure. I mean, you know, we'd pick up stuff, you know, the guys at school, and we'd have tapes, and, you know, obviously stuff like Overkill by Motorhead, you know, that's pure double pedal, you know, you know. So I guess at some point I was like, okay, my right foot has got fast enough, but it was never going to go that fast, you know. I mean, the thing is, I spent most of my, you know, years starting off, obviously, because I was a big sort of, you know, Maiden fan. I mean, Nico and Clive both had single pedal setups, you know. So, and I mean, their feet are phenomenal. So that kind of studying all that, you know, gave my, you know, made my right foot pretty good. You know, and that's what I say to, you know, kids and whatnot in my clinics. I'm like, look, I've got a double pedal. I can do some fast stuff and it's all groovy. But please don't go and buy a double pedal and then try and do sort of dum-gat, dum-ba-da-bat, dum-bat, dum-ba-da-bat, you know, with a double, because it's lazy and it sounds absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
But you got to get your right foot up to speed. You know, that's what I say. I say, look, you know, get your right foot good first, because, you know, you're not always going to have a double pedal, you know, so, and then you need to be able to, you know, play like that single pedal verse, really.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I was a big aficionado of all that, and you know, Chad Smith with the Chili Peppers, you know, he's insanely fast right foot and all that. And then obviously I got a double pedal, and it's not just for going dicka 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 dicka. You know, you can do some really funky things. You know, sometimes I do a ghost kind of pedal on the left foot, like people hold time down with their left foot on a hi-hat. I sort of move it over to the slave pedal, and you know, you get a kind of extra note going on, and it makes it groovy and jungly and tribally and that kind of stuff. Plus, there's been times when I've had cramp in my right foot and I've carried on the gig on my left till my right foot's regained composure, you know what I mean? Got a bit of blood in the muscles. And also, sometimes I've broken the right beater.
Yeah.
Or it's flown out, so I carry on, I comp it out with the left foot, and then while someone finds the pieces and sticks them together and, back on with the gig. So, and I remember seeing, there was a time when obviously all the big 80s, rock drummers had the huge, two kick drums. Kind of like a style, if you will. So I saw obviously Kiss and your Motley Crues and stuff like that, and that was cool. And I guess that's where I got the whole that big pink double kick thing going on, and I loved it. It was fantastic. It really was the thing for me at the time. But then I probably got bored of lifting it all. You know what I mean? In my granddad's Fiesta, which I'm actually got the entire kit in. I got incredibly good at packing drums in cars. But and then I think it might have even been, I think I might have seen Motley Crue or something at Wembley Arena and seeing Tommy Lee with a single kick, and obviously going, well, how's he doing all that? And all the digga. And obviously that's when I sort of started becoming aware of the double pedal. I think Tama did the Iron Cobra. That was pretty much the first best one, heavy duty. So I thought, well, that's it. I mean, I think at the first I thought, Tommy Lee, you're rubbish. What if your kit splits? What if your skin splits? You're that's no good. I've got two kicks. I'm better. That kind of teenage rubbish. But obviously then you realise, well, this is very rare for it to go, and you got the special pad that stops it ripping and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I got the Iron Cobra and loved it to death. You know what I mean?
Cool. Who are your current favourite players?
Wow, it's a tricky one. I mean, I like people who do a lot of different stuff, who are not afraid to sort of who chop and change what they do. They're crossing over all the time, rather than just a thrash drummer or a hip hop drummer who just does one thing. But really, it's not necessarily more important, but it's almost as important, I reckon. What gets me into players is their vibe, is their charisma, is the it factor. It's not just about, I'm not really that impressed with drummers who just play amazingly. I want them to have a laugh. I want them to be human. I want them to, be whatever, have elements of larger than life, whatever. Not just the fact they might have, they look and sound and appear and come across that they've literally locked themselves in a bedroom and become amazing. That to me is half of it. Being good, etc. But it's not about chops. You know what I mean? I mean, people ask me all the time, "Oh, who's the best drummer?" or whatever. And it's like, well, is it someone like Dave Weckl or Mike Portnoy, or is it like Phil Rudd from AC, who plays to 25,000 people a night on a small night and has done for a billion years? I mean, that's a good drummer. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, look at Dave Grohl. I mean, he's not a flash drummer. He's he's a proper rock and roll caveman drummer, which is where it's at for a lot of people. I like that. He's not doing anything flash. He's not showing off. He's just basically biting his bottom lip and rocking the hell out. But someone like Chad Smith, he's got a humour. He's got charisma. He opens his mouth. He talks. He does fun videos. His drum video is really entertaining. You don't have to be a drummer and you'll be laughing. You'll be learning. But what I like about that video is the fact that it's simple and you can do it, and that kind of gives people hope that you can go, wow, if I really get good at doing this, maybe I can be that guy in the 20,000 seater arena too.
Sure.
Rather than, oh my God, I'm never going to be as good as that robot. I'll give up now. And I've been to those clinics where I've come out and my jaw's been on the floor for the hour or whatever, hour clinic. And I've come out there and someone's gone, hey, what'd you learn? I go, nothing. Can't remember a damn thing. But I remember it's like seeing a circus act. You go, well, that's really cool. I'll never do that.
Yeah.
I'd be more, something a bit rootsy, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, the sort of, again, back in the 80s, obviously Tommy Lee was that kind of guy doing the sort of the showing off, the looking cool, the upside down drums, the larger than life, and the rock star thing, and sort of 70s, 80s, whatever. I mean, you've got Keith Moon and stuff, amazing drummer, very charismatic, like, in my opinion, as a band should be, some bands, it's like four frontmen. Look at like Kiss or Motley, you know what I mean? It's like that band needs every single character. Do you know what I mean? Because And that's what interests me. You know, as a kid, I had those posters of those kind of guys on my wall because I want, you know, you idolize the rock star. You know, it's like, wow, their life, they must live on Mars, you know, and travel in spaceships. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And, you know, and to a degree, that gets you into the whole thing. I mean, obviously, I'm not speaking for everyone here, of course. You know, other people just want someone who looks like a librarian and nails the gig and leaves and gets paid. And, you know, and people go, who was that guy? You know what I mean? I don't know. You know, and that's it. I like my drum heroes to have a face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Travis Barker's doing some amazing stuff for drumming. You know, a lot of people love to, you know, diss him, whatever, because you know, he's part of a three-piece pop punk band, but it's like, well, who cares? I mean, he plays with Busta Rhymes, he does stuff with Snoop Dogg, he does Lucasade adverts, he's in the Transplants, which is one of my favourite bands. You know, they got punk, hip hop, soul, acoustic, ska, thrash, hardcore, rock, you know, all that kind of stuff going on. And he's always drumming, he's always working, he's always doing videos, and he works with a lot of R&B people, a lot of metal guys. You know, and so, you know, if you look at the guy's career, all of these people I'm mentioning, you know, they've worked with a lot of people. People, you know, Jimmy DeGrasso, the guy's worked with Suicidal Tendencies, Megadeth, Ozzy, you know, I mean, he's you know, I did a drum clinic with him in 2008, and, you know, I'm a big fan, you know, what you did on that Suicidal Tendencies records, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. You know, and he played with Lita Ford, he played with, I think he played with White Lion, he's done everything. And an amazing talent, you know, someone like that. You know, Roy Mayorga, you know, he's played with Soulfly, he's played with Sepultura, he plays in Stone Sour, he does DJ Project, he does front of house sound engineering. I mean, you know, he does drum clinics, and you know, a big rock dude, you know, and exciting to watch. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, going back to clinics, have you got any good clinic stories?
Clinic stories? Well, yeah, I've got a couple spring to mind. I mean, one of them, it's actually on film, actually. It's just a minor thing, but I was doing this this drum festival, and there's a part in this song that I play along to where I'm sort of like, you know, bashing away on a kit, and my body's sort of jumping around a bit, and my headphones slowly are falling off because I didn't realise this at the time. And suddenly, they just fall straight in my lap, and of course that's where I'm getting my tunes from. I'm like, oh my God, you know. Luckily, I had like a speaker, sort of like a backup monitor, so I carried on playing for a bit. And there's this part in the song where it just stops and it goes and then we're back in the song. And so it happens at this bit, and I sort of look quizzically around on the floor, find my headphones, pull up the cable just at the last minute, whack them on, and just so it goes back and straight in. It's like that kind of Indiana Jones moment where he grabs his hat from underneath the door. And every time I watch it, I'm like, oh my God, that's on the nail, you know. But I guess the biggest sort of clinic story, if you will, was basically when I ended up replacing or stepping in for Jason Bonham, who's the son of John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, obviously. Yeah. At the UK's biggest drum clinic festival, drum festival called Drumfest, and it's up in Birmingham, in the National Indoor Arena. They had some huge names on the bill. It was headlined by Simon Phillips, who's played for everyone, and underneath it was Jason Bittner opening, who's drummer for Shadows Fall. He's done a few clinics and stuff. And then it was Greg Bissonette, who's obviously played for everyone. I mean, Dave Lee Roth, and you know, he plays in Ringo Starr's house band, I think, and he's massively respected and an insane player, whether it's jazz or rock or whatever. Then it was Carmine Appice, who's, you know, I mean, once you've written "Do You Think I'm Sexy" for Rod Stewart, you're okay, you know. And he brought a band, and he was like singing and getting the audience clapping. He made it like a live gig, and I mean, that guy's been doing it. He's at the top of his game for, you know, decades, and he's a proper gentleman. You know, he's a cool dude as well. Yeah. So he's a big name. Then there was Jojo Mayer, who's an insane talent. You know,
just a bit good.
Sorry.
I was like, oh my word.
You know, you can't fault these guys. I mean, unbelievable. It's like, man, Jojo Mayer from New York. I mean, yeah, I'm playing his cymbal. He's got, I'm endorsed by Sabian, and he's invented a kind of like a crash ride thing called the Omni, and it's got all these crazy sounds, and absolutely hats off to Jojo for that. It's brilliant. But so he's doing that, and he's got this mental drum and bass kind of thing that he does. And then it was Jason Bonham, and then it was Simon Phillips. So what happened is, basically, I was playing a show with GMT in Sheffield on a couple of days before the Drumfest, and the Drumfest people had booked me to compare the Guitar Fest,
right?
Which is little bit strange booking a loudmouth drummer to be an MC for these guitarists. You know, it was Jennifer Batten who'd played with Michael Jackson. And it was Glenn Hughes was on the bill. He brought his live band. Cool. It was Doug Wimbish. I think it was Doug Wimbish from Living Colour.
Right.
And he's the bass player, but his setup's so mental. He got into the Guitar Fest, you know. And there was all these other dudes who played with, I can't even remember, you know, loads of them. So, and I had no clue. I was like, I've got to introduce these people. I've got to make like I know what I'm talking about and who they are. And of course, it was headlined by Yngwie Malmsteen or Yngwie J. Malmsteen, you know, which of course is well known for having, you know, a slight ego, and a lot of people, you know, maybe love to hate him or whatever, maybe don't get on with him, whatever. But it was like there was this whole sort of Elvis has entered the building kind of moment when Yngwie had arrived, you know. Right. I'm not fazed by this. They're just guitarists, man. You know, I'm Robin Guy. You know, I can do this. You know. So, but we did the show with the GMT. Went to bed, woke up at 6 a.m. They drove me all the way from Sheffield down to Birmingham. We unloaded my kit because the day after Drumfest was a thing called Stick It 2MS. Which was the world's record attempt to have the most amount of drummers in one room playing a groove.
Right.
So that's why we dropped my kit off, which was, in hindsight, absolutely a lifesaver. So they put my kit in a broom cupboard thing for storage for a couple of days. And they gave me this rapper's mic and said, you're on in half an hour. You know, and I got a list of these people and tapped on their dressing room doors and walked in. All I knew was their name. So I just sort of came up with a list of like, okay, biggest concert you've played, most amount of records you've sold, funniest thing moment, you know, just some cartoon bullet points so I could introduce all these guys and girls, you know. And it was all working cool, and I was like, Glenn Hughes, knowing he's, you know, he's done a few things, you know what I mean? He's a bit of a big rock star, you know. So I was like, okay, that's cool, you know. So I walked in, I thought I've got like 5.5 seconds to kind of get on the right side of this guy and win him over. So I was like, Glenn, I'm Robin, I'm your MC, you know, I'm going to introduce you. He's like, okay. I said, listen, I just want some bullet points. Biggest crowd. And of course, you could just see his ego rising, you know. He's like, yeah, 250,000 people at Woodstock, man, you know. And I was like, okay, that's cool. He goes, but there are a whole lot of people more when, you know, they bum rushed the gates. There's like 350. I was like, okay, cool. I'm loving this, Glenn. I'm loving this. You know, got all this stuff. And I introduced him on stage. And I was like, okay, please welcome, you know, he's played with everybody, you know, Glenn Hughes. And his biggest crowd was 250,000 people, but 100,000 people bum rushed the show when they heard Glenn Hughes was on the bill. And you could see him, like, loving it, you know. He's like, that's what I'm talking about. And he came on and gave me a high five and he rocked the show. And then, you know, there was Jennifer Batten or whatever. And then it was Yngwie. And I actually prepared this kind of speech thing for Yngwie. And I tapped on his door. I thought, I better run it by the man, you know. Tapped on the door and this big security guy sort of opened. I went, hi, you know, I'm the compere, I'm the MC. I walked in, Yngwie sitting down. I went, hi, Yngwie. You know, I'm Robin. I don't know if I mentioned, like, you know, I play drums. I've done some stuff with Bruce, because obviously that made him, in his mind, go, okay, the guy's not a dick. I'll listen to what you've got to say, you know. Sure. But it worked. And so he said, okay, you know, I said, I'd like to run by you my opening speech for you, an introduction. You know, he goes, okay, what you got? You know, like all this kind of, and I was like, okay, he's listening, you know, it's all good. And so I kind of busted into my thing, like, this guy can play faster than the speed of light, you know, like, he's played on more records known to man than there exists, and blah, 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 all this, big it up, you know. And then I kind of finished by saying, so ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome from Stockholm, Sweden, via Miami, Florida, the Sultan of Shred, Yngwie Malmsteen. And he just gave me that. He gave me like, you know, when you do a knuckle punch on the knuckles, like, yo, what's up, blood? That kind of thing. He went, I like that. And so I was Yngwie's new best friend.
Oh, cool, man.
So I did all the comparing, and then we all got, you know, fairly drunk with the sort of the artists' dinner do in the evening, and I played a track. I mean, Carmine got up and did a track, and Greg Bissonette did something, you know. And I got up there and played Pretty Woman fairly averagely, and you know, it was fine. And then went to bed in my hotel, and it was all sorted. And I thought, well, it's pretty good, you know. Tomorrow I'll go to the biggest drum show that I've always wanted to play, and I'll just hang out, and maybe I'll badger the promoter guys into maybe booking me next year, you know. So I woke up, had my breakfast, wandered in, and suddenly the promoters run up to me like kind of nervously, Robin, you know, Jason Bonham can't get the electronic gates to his mansion open. Yeah, straight up. And could you fill his slot? You know, you're on in like 2.5 hours or something. I'm like, you know, I didn't know what to say. I mean, obviously I just said yes, you know, and then my mind began racing as fast as my heart. You know, they said, well, we'll confirm in 45 minutes when we spoke to his people to confirm he's definitely not turning up, you know. Right. I was like, okay, no worries. That was the worst 45 minutes of my life because I couldn't tell anyone, but, you know, I had to be prepared for a yay or a nay. So anyway, as soon as it was on, it was go. Me and Craig Glover, the head of PMT, who was running the whole show, we jumped in his car and I was like, right, we've got to go to the hotel. I've got to get my iPod, my sweaty stage show sorts from last night's gig, you know, 2 days ago, festering in my room. I was like, I haven't got my mixing desk. I haven't got any clinic gear. I haven't got any headphones. He's like, not to worry, mate. You know, and so I drove to one of the shops and just walked in there and said, give me the biggest, loudest, badassest pair of headphones you've got, you know. And he just basically kind of hired them, you know. We ran out. We kept running in and out of my hotel, grabbing my bandana, my stage gear, my shorts, running into the shop, coming out with the headphones, running back. And at this point, they went, the janitor can't get the door open to your kit.
Oh, no.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, you know, this is not what I want to hear. We got like T-1 hour or so, you know, and I'm starting to kind of get the sweats on. And they literally, and apparently, like, they'd called the janitor, who obviously works for the NIA, and is obviously some old fusty old 86-year-old dude in a yellow fluorescent jacket, and he wandered very slowly along with one key, apparently, went, oh, that's the wrong one. And then walked all the way back. You know, and we were like, dude, you know what? Get a hammer and bust that door open and leave them 15 quid. That's what I'd do. I'm like, I want my kids. I'm starting to freak out. And then basically, like, we have to get the gear. Then I suddenly saw these kids carrying my gear. So I was like, brilliant, right, we're in order. So I jump up on stage. And, you know, there's a limited amount of time because, like, you know, Carmine or someone has just come off. You know, and you've got that maybe an hour changeover, and I've got to tech it all, got to crew it all, got to get it all up there, got to sound check it all myself in this big empty arena room thing while everyone's through the other part of the room. And you know, got no help, but you know, I'm just thinking, I need some water. No fizzy bubbles, just straight water and some batteries. You know, just shouting stuff out randomly, and everyone's kind of rallying around because they know that, you know, it's just me, myself, and I, and no one else. And then the guys from Sabian, my cymbal company, they had a stall around the corner, and they were really cool. They grabbed the banners from their stall and whacked it up behind me, so it looked pretty pro, you know.
Cool.
So I've got my tiny little kit right next to Simon Phillips's massive kit on this huge riser, you know? and everyone's sort of hovering around me, going, "Come on," you know. And I said to the stage manager, I said, "Listen, realistically, how long have we got?" And I mean, realistically, he went, "Realistically, 4.5 minutes." Oh. They were holding doors, and there were people, you know, chomping at the bit to go and see Jason Bonham. So I'm like, crapping myself even more, pissed off, and I'm like, sorry, I've got to go backstage just to kind of gather my thoughts and, you know, tie on my bandana and look myself in the mirror. No time to warm up. No, I haven't even thought about what I'm going to play, you know, because normally you work it all out. This time was just, you know, hellfire. I literally went backstage. We jogged, we ran, you know, me and this stage manager, who was so cool. He just said, sorry, I can't tell you where it is. You'll get lost. I'll run with you. We ran back there. I do up my shoelaces, put my bandana on, put my head mic on, looked myself in the mirror and nodded and went, this is it, man. You know, this is it. IT, you know. And I said, all right, let's go, let's do this. And we walked up on stage, it was all dark, and then there's a little light on me, and some compere went, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you know, the bad news is, you know, you know, the place was packed. Because, I mean, A, it's Jason Bonham, B, it's the best slot in the entire day. Because if you're headlining, people might have to leave early because of rush hour, because of babysitters, because of trains, you know. Yeah. If you're opening, you might miss it because people will turn up at lunchtime or whatever. In the middle, blah, blah, blah. But this is like everyone's seen everything in the exhibits by now. So they're like, let's go and see this, you know. So the place was rammed. And there's this whole, I'm on stage nervously shuffling. And he's going, the bad news is Jason Bonham can't make it. The good news is Robin Guy, you know, and you could hear these tumbleweeds moving through the building going, you know what I mean? And people sort of, you know, in sort of faded Led Zepp t-shirts going, oh, good morning, back. It's Chump with a bandana. What does he look like? You know, what's going on? And I just sort of grabbed the mic. I said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's true. I'm here stepping in for Jason. I've had no notice, no warming up. Don't even know what I'm going to do. I said, we're even borrowing a mixing desk and headphones. But what the hell? We're here to entertain. We're here to rock. let's see what works and what doesn't, and here we go. See you at the end. And I ripped into a solo, busted it up, and told a few jokes, dropped a few sticks, chucked a few drumsticks against the wall, and bounced back, and did my kind of brand of chaos, and played some reggae and some hardcore and some rock and some pop, and told a couple more jokes and dropped a couple more sticks, and finished. And I couldn't even see because the lights was on me like a car. You can't see behind the headlights. But as I walked off stage, I got a standing ovation. Which was pretty special. I was really humbled. I had tears in my eyes and everything because it was just so emotional of everything, physical and mentally. It was just crazy. And then people, I come down the front of the stage and people just zoomed in, and I was signing for about between an hour and a half, and the queue was just massive, and it was so big that they asked me to take, like the Pied Piper, they asked me to take my crowd outside because Simon Phillips can't go on. So how mental was that? So I signed for the entirety of Simon's clinic. I wanted to go in and see him, and so right at the end, the last person to be signing stuff, and it was brilliant. I mean, I was humbled, man, but I did everything, and then I walked in just as Simon Phillips is finishing, and we intercepted at the side of the stage and walked to his dressing room together, and he said, "Robin, that was the best clinic I've seen today. Cool. I want to get you a beer." And we went in his dressing room, and Simon Phillips got me a beer, and we just hung out, and I was just like, man, that's crazy, and then I went in, did a 2-page feature interview for Drummer magazine. And then, I got in Rhythm magazine. Someone had sent in like a letter saying, didn't really think much of Drumfest, exhibited this, exhibited that, blah, 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 blah. But the one thing worth my 15 quid alone was seeing this guy called, Robin Guy or whatever, and that was, and then Rhythm put it as a star letter of the month. And it was, and the headline for that was, "Who's that guy?" Seriously good things came out of that. And not just the fact that I managed to pull it off with about 4.5 minutes non-preparation, borrowed headphones, and it's mental, and then through that, I got approached by this new drum company called Natal, they've been going since 62, but like a percussion company, and now they've been bought by Marshall, so it's basically a British drum company, which is fantastic. So they're actually catering and caring, more importantly, for the British players, because there's some insanely amazing British players. It's not all about the Yanks, you know what I mean? It's not all about, and that's no disrespect meant to anyone, but, we've got a hell of a lot of talent in this country, There's some amazing drummers out there, incredible, and really hard workers as well. So it's really nice to see, drum companies not just caring about America, Germany, and Japan because it's financial and corporate. This company are based in Britain, they make it in Britain, and they care about Britain people. So they've sorted me out drum kits and a clinic tour, and that's what I'm doing in July.
Oh, cool. What is your aim in a clinic and masterclasses, and is it something you wish to do after you finish touring?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's kind of the purest version of me. It's me being me, talking about being me, and playing stuff that I've written and recorded, and stories that I've got into, but also in a very sort of educational, not format, but it is very educational. There's lots of stuff you learn. Dead simple stuff, hints, tips, how to warm up, how to do stretches, how to combat cramp, how not to get nervous in auditions, hints and tips on the kit, how to do things, how to save money, how to save time, how to save effort, how to save weight, all that kind of stuff. It's just stuff that I've kind of learned, or more really just picked up, because it's like, how can you explain what being in an actual battle in war is like, unless you've actually gone and done it. Right. And I mean, that's maybe a bit of a hardcore analogy there, but I mean, I equate touring as a cross between camping and warfare, because whatever you've got when you go out, and they both involve fields, you know what I mean? That's all you've got, and you've got to make do with what you've got. If you're just about to go into battle and someone hands you a wooden sword, you haven't got time to go and get something else. You've got to do best with your wooden sword. So, that's how it is. If you're on tour, you might have had not much sleep. You might have there might be no dressing room. You've got to change in the toilet. You got to do you're warming up somewhere. You might not have any time to warm up. You might be jet lagged by 9 hours or something. You might not know what planet is on. there might be you might not have eaten properly. You definitely won't have eaten properly. I've had it where, the things, you need to eat and you need to get that energy to get you through the gig, but you need that to digest for about 2 hours before the show. And I've done it where the promoters kept promising, and you just do the sound check, we have the food soon. And, you're starving because you haven't eaten. You spent all day in the van travelling up from London to, wherever the hell, like Scotland or whatnot, and you've had literally, 14 packets of crisps and 30 cans of Coke, so you're all sugar. You feel like death. And you're starving for a proper meal. And then half hour before the frigging curtain goes up and you've got to play, they turn up with 9 steaming pizzas. Looks so amazing. It's so, oh God, I want to eat that. I want to bolt it down my face. I want to rub it in me, and you can't, because you'll just end up chucking it up over yourself. You know what I mean? Worse if you've got to sing too. Yeah. So, I mean, loads of stuff. Like I said, the whole stick thing through the eye. If you've got a cut, you've got a bruise, if you've got an ache, a pain, if you've got blisters on your hands, they're not going to get better each day. They're going to get worse. You just got to maintain that. Sure. You got to work out clever ways of washing your clothes on tour. You know what I mean? Like, hanging them up. I have bits of Velcro all over the inside of this minibus in the States, hanging like phone chargers and little toilet roll holders and socks and flying up and. It's like traveling, gypsy pirate circus. You know what I mean?
I was going to say Camping and Warfare. Isn't that a Steve Vai album?
Yeah. I think guess what would happen if it was Steve Vai meets the Village People. I think it's a good album title, like Camping and Warfare.
Camping and Warfare.
Hot New Opus by Robin Guy. Yeah.
So listen, you played with loads of bands, but the first one I got to ask is, what's it like working with Bruce Dickinson? Because he's one of my heroes. I love his self-titled albums. Self-titled albums. His own albums like Skunkworks, Chemical Wedding, and.
Well, I mean, firstly, I'm the same as you. I mean, massive respect for the guy. He's obviously a big hero in the fact, Iron Maiden, best band ever, and changed my life and all that. But he's super humble. That's the thing. He's massively humble, massively talented. He's just a super professional and really, really good human being.
Cool.
I lost track of his endeavours, not even musical, but he's a fully qualified pilot. I mean, he's almost like a world champion fencer. He does radio shows. Successful marriage, 3 kids. His oldest son's in a band doing very well. Got a record deal there, doing touring. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He's bought hangars, airspace, and stuff like that in Wales. He created thousands of jobs. I mean, it's unbelievable. You think, Christ, why don't you just go and, take some drugs and retire on an island? like you'd expect, Nicky Six or something like that. But no, he just keeps going. And he's just super cool. I mean, he's very, he's fit. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but I mean, he doesn't stop moving for that hour plus on stage. I mean, obviously, if you do that, a couple of hours every night for world tours for 13 months with Maiden, you're match fit, you're ready. But I mean, yeah, it's just bang, 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 bang. I mean, we did like 6 rehearsals without him just so that we didn't look like utter chumps. When he comes in the room, and then we did, probably even less than that with him. And then we, jumped on a plane and went to headline Sweden Rocks, headlining over Motorhead, which is my other favourite band. I mean, I was just like mind blown, incredible. And we'd fly in on Ryanair, and with my sticks in my back pocket kind of thing. Me and the guys in the band, which was my good friend, bass player buddy Chris Dale, Alex Dixon, who also did the Skunkworks thing, and the other guitarist was Pete Friesen, who used to play with the Almighty and also played with Dallas Cooper. Yep. So you got a really cool band there, good bunch of guys, and we'd fly in and we'd set the whole show up, just just us basically, rig it all up and get it all going. And then Bruce would fly in a bit later, a couple of hours before the show time, or even an hour. He'd come up to Chris and go, "Is everything all right, Chris?" And Chris would go, "Yeah, man, it's all cool." And he'd go, "Anything I need to know?" We'd be like, "No, beer's over there, water's over there, that's it." And we're on at this time. He'd be like, "Super cool," and he loved it because the amount of the entourage with Maiden, and you can't take a foot to the left or right without having to do an interview or a front page feature or a radio thing, blah blah blah. And he just loved this because it was just under the radar. It was just cool. It was him and a bunch of mates having a couple of beers, and on stage he'd say, "Listen, I've got nothing to sell. I got hardly any merch. I got no new record out. I'm just here with my mates. These guys are in a band called Sacktrick back in the UK, and my friends. Chris Dale on bass, Robin Guy, and he'd be, it'd be great, and everyone would really, really get it, and it'd be a pulverizing band. I mean, it was really cool, really good fun. I mean, we do a whole bunch of Bruce stuff, solo stuff, which is fantastic. I mean, it's super cool. We're playing The Tower. It was just mind blowing. I was just losing my mind playing it. I was eyes closed, loving it.
Yeah.
And we did Tears of the Dragon, we did Tattoo Millionaire, we did Dark Side of Aquarius. It was super cool. Laughing in a Hiding Bush, and then we'd kind of do encores with some Maiden stuff. We'd do The Prisoner. I got to play the intro to The Prisoner in front of 40 people. It's like, yeah, baby, and hats off to Clive Burr, and another one of my heroes. It's fantastic. Learned a lot of stuff from him as well. That fast right hand. He gave a lot of the punky edge to the Maiden's first records.
Yeah, sure.
I went to his funeral the other day. It was very emotional, and Bruce and Steve Harris were there as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Prisoner. We did Revelations of Peace of Mind, which it was amazing. That's a hell of a journey to play that song.
Yeah.
We did Power Slave, which is just. Oh my God, you know what I mean? When you're on call with Power Slave, it's just unbelievable. And in Greece, we played on top of a mountain, and the Greek people, I mean, they love their Maiden, they love their metal, they are absolutely insane about it. They'd travel for days, like 8 people in a Ford Fiesta with Iron Maiden stenciled on the bonnet. And they'd come up to us at 4 a.m. We're hanging outside the hotel, and they're like, Bruce is my life. And I'll be like, dude, me too, and it was incredible. So they're all hanging off these rocks, like, I don't know, 100 foot up in the air. I mean, it was, there was the pit and the auditorium, like this arena thing we were playing, and that was great. But then the silhouette of these guys was making a massive noise up on these rocks, like cormorants, you know what I mean? And we finished, and no one would let us finish, and we just kept playing, and we just did every song we did, and then Bruce came up and going, do we know any more, chaps? Well, Bruce, we kind of had a bash through Flight of Icarus. I know we didn't play it with you, but I think we could probably cobble that together. He's like, do it, And obviously doing Flight of Icarus in Greece is just about as it's as close to the heavens as you're going to get.
Cool.
Place went mental, and and it's the one. If you look at sort of YouTube stuff of this. It's the one song where all the band aren't going crazy because they're all standing on the spot looking at each other's fretboards going, how the fuck does it go? It's brilliant. We're all like mega serious and counting it through and, trying to get it right. But yeah, I mean, that was just so special. I mean, like I said, when a band, everyone I'd imagine has got a band that they first discovered or that changed their life or they got their first girlfriend too or whatever, that kind of thing. And then for me, it's Maiden. And so when you're playing, like I said, these huge rock festivals headlining above, some of your other heroes like Motorhead and stuff like that, it's almost, you can't put it into words because it's almost a big joke. You just go, yeah, wow. You can't put it into words because it's too much of a bomb. Sure. So it's just it's a very special thing that I did. And all I can say cryptically, ladies and gentlemen of this podcast, is watch this space.
Ooh.
So I will say no more because obviously, as soon as anything is said, nothing will happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All my life. Dad, I'm going to support Def Leppard. Who are they? I don't know. And then nothing happens and then you end up realising, well, better not shout your mouth because then, you'll look less of a chump. But I mean, yeah, let's just say, everything was cool. Great. Musically, it was fantastic. And, I think Bruce likes that. It's cool. Low maintenance, good fun.
Well, for those that don't know, can you tell us your Faith No More story?
Yes. I'm trying to think how in depth you want, but I mean, okay. I was kind of like roadieing for this band who were doing like a cabaret kind of band at the in Soho in London. They had It was like this comedian guy, and they were backing it. And it turns out it was the backing band of Robbie Williams, and it was a guy called Guy Chambers who wrote Angels, and very talented session dudes and whatnot. And I was their go-to guy because I had a van. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'd get paid to go and load all their gear and tech it. And at that time, you kind of back in the day, this is sort of 96 or something. You do anything, a couple of quid involved, getting in the music business, you just say yes and you get involved. Turns out that I learnt their set, and one day their drummer couldn't make it, so I played the set for the night in this posh cigar club with the, Suggs from Madness there, the Bros guys, all the sort of Sunday sport girls and whatnot. It was that kind of hangout. And I played the set, so technically I played with the Robbie Williams backing band, which is kind of cool. That's another little story. But so one day the bass player guy goes, Robin, this head's blown up. I need you to take it down, I think, Ritz Studios or whatnot, get it repaired. So I was like, yeah, no big deal, no worries, man. So I took it down there, of course, got lost and went in the wrong door. And as I was wandering around trying to find this place to drop off the head, I saw this sign saying session agency. So I went, ooh, that must be a session agency. Because, when you don't really know where these things come from, you don't know where to look. So when you see a sign saying session agency, you go, ooh, went up the stairs. And there was a big sign on the door saying, if you haven't got an appointment, don't come in. So I went, I don't have an appointment. Sorry, I'm going to go in, I just waltzed in the door, and it was brilliant because, again, this is a lot of people aren't into image or whatever. They think it's, it comes, it's not important at all. And, that's people who say that usually because they don't have an image or whatnot. I've always thought image is actually the first thing you see on an album, especially when they're back in the vinyl days, but it's not really, you didn't really have listening posts or whatever. So if you especially back in the sort of, the rock and roll days of the 80s, if you see a band that look, let's say as good as Guns N' Roses, it's going to be good, because you think, wow, they look interesting. I'm going to take a punt on that. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually good, So anyway, what I'm trying to get at I waltzed in there and I had pink hair. And it was kind of what kept me walking in the room, because as soon as I walked in, I heard, "Oh, we love your hair," It was these 3 girls at 3 different desks. So I thought, brilliant, I've just broke the ice without saying anything. So I wandered in. I said, "Listen, you're a session agency, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I said, "Right, I bet you haven't got anyone on your books with pink hair." And they went, "No." And I said, "Well, how about it?" I basically went, "I'll do anything and everything that none of your other guys and girls will do. So and bear that in mind." And they loved the vibe. They just loved whether it's the cockiness or the pink hair or the fact that I just waltzed in there with my cookout, basically going, I'll do everything that no one else will do. Give me the wild and wonderful, crazy stuff. I'll do that. Maybe your session drummer who plays for, whatever, the Billy Bob Jazz Quartet, who's supremely talented, probably wouldn't want to, jump off a bungee and, wrestle with tigers or whatever. And I said, I'll do it. And I'll probably be more scared of jumping off a bungee than the tigers, but whatever. So about a month goes past, and suddenly I get a voicemail thing on my dated old answer machine. And it's like, "Hey, Robin, it's Tina from the session agency. You said you wanted to do something crazy. Well, we might have got something crazy for you. It's drum." And at this point I thought, okay, it's going to be jumping around in a pink bunny rabbit costume, in the back of a Supergrass video shoot or something, what I mean? Something like that. Which, of course, obviously the answer would have been yes, brilliant. Being able to talk to the band and meet their manager and, network, and that's how you do it,
Sure.
I didn't expect them to go, "It's playing for the most credible metal band of the last 20 years. Faith No More," my jaws hit the floor. And I went, "Yes." Okay. And the fact they were actually going to pay me for this is like even more ridiculous. And the thing is, if you live in Britain and you're aware of Top of the Pops, and you're an aspiring musician, and you 9 times out of 10, at some point in your life, someone's gone, "What do you do?" You go, "I play drums." "You're going to be in a band then?" Yeah. "Going to be on Top of the Pops then, are you?"
Yeah.
And that's happened day in, day out. And at this point, I was like, "I'm going to be on freaking Top of the Pops." This is it. Week. So, next minute, I know I'm answering the door to Knight Rider, who's this courier guy. He sort of delivers this package, and it's all very, very cool and record company, and pre-release copy of this track I had to learn and whatnot. The song's called Ashes to Ashes, and it was off Album of the Year. So I got this and scurried upstairs. I was like, please, 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 let it not be in some demonic time signature, and please let it be decent, Because the funny thing is, a year earlier, I was watching Top of the Pops with Faith No More because they're Digging the Grave.
Yeah,
it was in the charts, and I got super excited because back then, when any metal or rock band got on Top of the Pops, that was like
it's a big thing.
Queen's speech, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mum, Dad, come on, I'm going to watch Top of the Pops. Shut up, it's a rock and roll band, And I remember watching Puffy Borden slam it out to Dig in the Grave on Top of the Pops, and so little did I know, literally a year and a half later, I'd be the one playing Ashes to Ashes, their next hit single, unbelievable. So I learnt this song, and then whatever, a couple of weeks later or whatever, the company car, big posh chauffeur-driven thing comes to pick me up, and of course, Faith No More, their image at the time was all the posh, the Men in Black, suits thing, So I was like, I better go and hire one of those. I found out hire costs about 70 quid. I was like, sod that. Went to Oxfam, bought a whole suit for 12 quid. I was like, that. So off I went to the studio at the Top of the Pops thing, And again, it was one of the deep breath moments where it's like, on the door it said Faith No More. And it had like, Mike Patton, Billy Gould, what's the guitar, John Hudson.
John Hudson, yeah.
John Hudson.
That's it, Robbie Bottom and Robin Guy. I was like, Christ, more, And so I got there. I got there before the guys, and so I wandered in. It was like this mental dressing room full of like ridiculous foods and beers and champagnes and pâtés, and for me, before I sort of got into the whole sort of bands on tour and rider, and I was just the proverbial sort of starving kid. I was just like, oh my God, I want to take a picture. I think I took a couple of pictures just of the food. It's amazing, And anyway, I went off and then came back, and the guys had arrived, and it was like it's a very bizarre situation. You've got to be in the band for that day, and you've got to kind of be like you're in the band at that day. But of course, you're not actually in the band because they've been a band for billions of years, so they know what they're doing and how to hang, and they laugh at their jokes, and they got the in jokes about the bus driver called Charlie, blah blah blah. They all laugh, and you're sitting there going, do I laugh about the bus driver called Charlie, who I don't really know, with his crooked walk that they know and I don't, or do I sit there like a lemon? It's random, So anyway, they were super cool. I mean, Roddy Bottom looked up and went, "Hey man, you going to play some drums with us today?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And they were all cool. It was super cool. So anyway, I'd heard this rumor from the record company girls that there was going to be a mask put on me at some point. And obviously I wasn't massively blown away at this idea, but I was like, hey, I'm on Top of the Pops with Faith No More, it's all good. But what turns out what they wanted to do is have the drummer ridicule Puffy Borden by wearing a Puffy Borden mask.
Right.
Which is kind of funny and ho, 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 And of course I was like, I'm Robin Guy. I want to go on there with my pink hair, I don't want to wear this mask. But, I was saying to the girls, I was like, wow, do you really think we need to do it? And they're like, they were totally on my side. They're like, yeah, it's a bit of a idea, a bit pony, why don't you just take it off halfway through? I'm sure the band won't mind. I was like, yeah, all right, well, they haven't mentioned anything yet. Well, let's see how it goes. So we did one rehearsal in our jeans and T-shirt, all cool. Then what happens at the Top of the Pops? You go and do a run through, then you go and eat. So I was like, I like this. So we go and eat, and we have a coffee, then we go back to the dressing room, we hang. A couple of hours later, Faith No More, you needed another run through, so we go down there. They're still running through camera shots and whatnot. So we go there, and then you finish that, and then you go and eat. So I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. I'm going to eat some more, yeah, brilliant. So then you do another one, and you go and eat some more, and I'm like, this is great. I'm just eating and rocking. It's brilliant, and in the jeans and T-shirt. No one's mentioned about a mask. We're all cool. We seem to be getting along really good. So that's cool. And then it got right to the end of, sort of near enough, like we did the dress rehearsal. And I think we did one dress rehearsal, and it was like no mask. I was like, wow, this is super awesome. We're all looking sharp. Everyone's cool. We're nailing it. It's all good. And then they go, right, one more dress rehearsal. They go, Robin, we want you to wear this mask. I'm like, no. I was like, avoided it for so long, and they hadn't forgotten. And they gave me this piece of crap mask. It was like, imagine a passport-sized thumbnail photograph, which is what? 1 inch by 2 inches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now imagine stretching that. Imagine blowing that up to the size of a plate. It's going to be blocky as hell, right?
Yeah.
And it was like an artist's impression, It looked terrible. And some person had literally dagged 2 eye holes with a pair of scissors. It was bad, you know. So I kind of shrugged and went, "Really, guys? Are you sure?" You know, and they're like, "Yeah, man." You know. So I said, "Well, you know, yeah, cool, man. I mean, but I think I did the run through, and it was terrible because I mean, like, it was like something pushing your nose down. You couldn't breathe. The eyes were like really badly ravaged slits, which were in different places to my eyes. So I couldn't see anything. I was guessing. I was hitting all the wrong things. But of course, so I kind of, we did the run through, it was terrible, and I felt really awful. I was like, it's horrible, you know. But of course, they didn't care. They wanted to take the piss out of Buffy Borden by some, quote unquote, they wanted some monkey at the back to wave their sticks around wearing this mask.
Right.
So I kind of did my meekest protestation, you know, whatever, you know. I'd sort of offered up a little bit of, you know, minor protest, at which point they kind of pretty much tore me a new head. They sort of went, "Listen, dude, if you don't want it, we'll get Charlie the bus driver to do it," you know. Obviously not in a New York accent for this from San Francisco, but, you know. I was like, "Give me the mask, you know, I'll do it," you know. So I was like, "No, you know, I'd rather do it." So anyway, if you know the song, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, basically what happens with Ashes to Ashes, you've got 4 riffs, and on the 4th riff, the drums kick in. So the first riff is, second riff, etc., you know. So Mike Patton gives me the mask as we going to start, and he looks me in the eye and he points at me and he goes, "Make this work." Like in cold, like a shark, you know, cold, lifeless eyes. "Make this work." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll do my best." So roll cameras, the crowd are going crazy. The Spice Girls were presenting the show, so it was a really big Top of the Pops, you know. Some big names on there as well. Hanson, Wet, Sarah Brightman, George Michael did a surprise secret turning up, you know. It's a lot of kind of, you know, it was a big pop stuff, you know. And so, yeah, crowd are going crazy. The camera arm's swinging over. Mike Patton's on, "Make this work." And so the riff goes, I put the mask on. Second riff, the mask falls off because they've made it so badly and done one knot on that piece of crab elastic, and it just pulled through straight up, boom. And this mask quite gently sailed onto my snare drum in front of me. But then the third riff, it's like a sort of horror movie. Everything slows down, so it goes. In this time, I'm like, "No, must fix mask." You know? And I'm trying to think. I'm actually thinking I can poke that little piece of elastic through, tie a quick knot, back in the house, and it'll be fine. And then the other half of me went and chucked it. And then. So I tossed the mask and I hit the drums right on cue with the drums kicking in. We go boom, boom, blah, boom, boom, blah. And then we rocked in. And there's a clip of this on YouTube. And what you don't know when you're watching it is basically, you know, when you're a little kid and you've done something wrong and you think, well, I'll close my eyes because if I can't see my parents, they can't see me. So I know that I've done a faux pas. And so if you look closely at the clip on YouTube, there's basically a cameraman right to my left-hand side, and he's filming me on the drums, and the rest of the guys got the cameras out front. And for some reason, they feature quite a lot of the cuts from that camera. And you'll see me closing my eyes, because I didn't want to see them seeing me. Seeing them, you know. So I thought, I'll just close my eyes. So if they turn around, I won't see them shouting, "Stop, stop, stop." Yeah. So that's the reason why I've got my eyes closed, not because I'm enjoying the moment and I'm being emotionally moved, you know. So halfway through, obviously they don't see me because they're out front performing to the audience. So they got no reason to turn around. Mike Patton's got a plastic beaker full of champagne. So he's singing and he's swigging and singing, and it comes to maybe a bit of the chorus or whatever, or after, and he turns around and he sees me, but he sees me, not obviously me wearing the mask that he told me to make this work. Yeah. So he then obviously thinks I've just, well, you know, how to put it politely, I've obviously, you know, disobeyed his orders, you know. And so he puts his beaker down nice and slowly and raises his hand up and flips me the bird and gives me the middle finger right on top of the pops.
Oh, my word.
My face, about 1.5 foot away from my face. It gives me the FU, you know. So I'm freaking out because I'm trying to scream over this massive deafening volume of this monitor level that I've got in my speaker. "Mike, the mask fell off. It was made badly, you know. And he turns around and he's screaming and shouting in the mic and singing and doing the thing. So then there's a bit of a rock out and he does a scream and there's a solo or whatever. So he turns around and he's kind of maybe realising, okay, whatever, Robin's okay, you know, we're enjoying this, it's okay. So he gives me a wink. So he winks at me. And at which point I kind of laugh and we share a little moment and I kind of wink back and go, hey, Mike, that's showbiz. You know, well, he'd probably just seeing my mouth move and going, what the hell is this fool on about? You know, but I'm going, Mike, that's showbiz. You know, so we finish and we go backstage, and then Billy Gould starts going crazy. What the freak, man? I'm gonna freaking take this freaking gaffer tape to your freaking head and freaking gaffer tape the freaking mask on. You know, and going mental. And I'm going, you know, for the second time, I'm going, you know, I'm trying to wither up my defence of. The mask fell off. They literally just thought I've just, you know, forgot about them, you know, and ignored them. And I was trying to explain, look, it's not my fault. So they're like, we're going to get some freaking gaffer tape and freaking gaffer tape your freaking head and the freaking mask. You'll never freaking come off. You know. So, of course, all this time, what happens when you do when you do Top of the Pops is as soon as you've shot your bit, that film gets put up to another little studio, like a B studio, and they watch it. To make sure it's acceptable for before the watershed 7 o'clock British viewing, you know. Certainly, like so, if a guitar speaker fell over, they'd basically call you, and they call you back and you redo it, you know, after another band's done their bit, you know.
Right.
Certainly, they're going to spot someone giving someone the middle finger on top of it. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm preparing for overkill of gaffer tape. At the mercy of Billy Gould's hands, you know, when they find the mask and freaking gaffer tape the freaking mask to my freaking head. And so we wait for 15 minutes while the Studio B crew watch our footage and then inevitably call us back and say, do it again without the finger, you jerks, you know. And then about 15 minutes later, another 15 minutes, the worst 15 minutes of my life, we're all there in dead silent, no one's sort of speaking, you know what I mean, in this corridor. And then this girl with a clipboard and a headset comes down. It's like, yep, Faith No More. Yep, okay, they're here. Yeah, okay, Faith No More. You're good to go. And, you know, within seconds, the guys had gone. And I'm there in this empty corridor with the echoing words of Faith No More, you're good to go. And I suddenly realised they're not calling us back. That's what's going out tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Is me and my pink-haired glory, as I put it, you know. And Top of the Pop and Faith No More and all that. So I was just like, oh my God, you know. So I kind of skipped my way merrily to the dressing room where obviously they'd grabbed their stuff and gone. I was like, okay, no problem, guys. Nice work with you, you know. Then I sort of set to work on butchering the entire room with pate and beers and champagnes. I took my suit out of its suit bag, put that in a carrier bag and filled up my suit bag with like posh beers and wines. It was amazing. I was eating Faith No More's rider for the next month. It was brilliant. So, but during this sort of hoovering of their room, I found Billy Gould's passport.
Oh.
So at that point, I realised his nuts were indeed in my hand. And I had a quick little look at the 80s Bon Jovi permed and bleached hair, which I thought was quite humorous. And then I put my business card in there with a picture of me, obviously, and then ran down to the sort of the bar, or just ran anywhere really, you know. And that's when I saw John Hudson and Mike Patton having a beer. So I went up to them and said, and they like, hey, what's up, bro? You know. And I went, hey, good guys, thanks, man. By the way, I think your short bass player might owe me an apology. And they gave him the passport. He opened it up, saw my card, saw Billy, and went, well, he said, mother flamer, you know. That's what he said, you know. And he went, nice one, dude, you know. So high fives, and I carried on back to the dressing room to keep rinsing their stuff, and that was that. So then I had to drag this very heavy bag of goodies out of Top of the Pops without it looking like I was, running off with the entire catering department, and get in this company car, and they took me home. Cool. And then, of course, can you imagine? I was just a buzzing hive of energy, needing to tell someone I'd done Top of the Pops. So my flatmate, my aforementioned, buddy Chris Dale, the bass player, who did the Bruce Dickinson stuff and the Skunkworks thing. He was my flatmate at the time. So I was like desperate to tell him, you know. And what happened is no one was there. I was echoing house. I was going crazy. I was running around booting in every single door, going, "Oh, I'm done Top of the Pops." Oh, no one's here. Right. So then I got on the phone because I knew that Chris was recording the first Sack album at Al Dixon's house.
Right.
You know, wherever that was. So I called them there. And, of course, got through to the answer phone, which I was very annoyed at, you know. I wanted to talk to my boys and tell them what a wonderful day I'd had. So they go, "Hey, you know, you've reached the message, blah, 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 leave a message." So, of course, then I managed to psycho-babble my way through their entire answer phone machine, going, it was something like, "Hi guys, it's Robin. I've just done Top of the Pops with Faith No More. Yes, that's right, Faith No More. And tune in tomorrow because I'll be there at 7 with all my pink haired glory." And what I didn't realise, the guys are recording an album and they're wetting themselves listening to my garbled psychobabble on this thing. So then they decided to make it into a song.
Oh,
cool.
So technically, my first ever session, I wasn't even aware of. So if you can, I'm sure you can go and listen to this somewhere, but you know, you can find this. It's on the first Sack album, which is called "Music from the Mystery Rabbits," and it's track number 5, and the song's called "Robin's Good News."
Right.
And what they did, they put like a kind of stomping hip hop beat to it, and put a little chorus in there, and then put my chopped up voicemail message, and it's sort of basically like, "Robin's got some news. Robin's got some news. Tell us your news, Robin. Tell us your news, Robin." And it goes boom, 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 ga, boom, boom, ga. And it's like, "Yo, hey guys, it's me, Robin." And you know, "I've just done Top of the Pops with Faith No More." And they go, "Ooh, Faith No More," you know. And it's really funny. It's like a minute and a half long, and it's the best song I've ever recorded ever. And I didn't even need a studio to do it. So that's kind of my Faith No More story.
Well, I tell you what, we'll put that song at the end of the podcast if you want.
That would be the best.
Yeah, we'll put it at the end.
Spot on, man. And you know, just not even in a kind of closure or wrapping up way, but I met Billy Gould a few years later.
Right.
And it was a kind of skate fest in Tufnell Park, Boston, somewhere, Finsbury Park. And I was hanging out on one side of like the bar, like a kind of backstagey type thing in a tent, and I saw this guy over there. I was like, "That's Billy Gould, you know." And this was the time when he had his own record label. I think it was called Cool Arrow, with a K, Cool Arrow Records or something, you know. And I guess he was overdoing press for that. So he was talking to some guy, and I was like, "That's Billy Gould, you know. I've got to say hi, you know." And he was talking. And when this guy eventually went, it was just him, and he was at one side of the bar, and I was at the other. And he looked up, and we looked, you know, we kind of caught each other's eyes. And then he did a double take, and he came over, and he went, You're that guy. You're that guy, you know." And I said, "Yes, I am that guy," you know. And I said, and I told him, you know, what really went down. He went, "Dude, I am so sorry. How can I make it up to you? I was such an asshole, you know." And I said, "You can buy me a pint, Billy. I'm going to buy you a pie and a pint." And so he bought me a pint, and then we went around the corner, he bought me a pie. How cool is that, you know? He gave me his email address and a Cool Arrow thing, you know, because at the time I was like, I know, I'm going to get Sack signed to Cool Arrow, you know? Which has been seriously funny. But, yeah, so there you go. And also there's I ended up going on the Davina McCall show.
All right.
And at the time, this show was called Closure. And the idea was basically the people who come on the show and talk to Davina come on because they've got a kind of secret they need to tell the world to gain closure.
Right.
And I got the shout, and they said, "Hey, listen, you've got to do your Faith No More story because obviously, you know, everyone thinks you pulled that mask off. So this can be your chance to set the record straight and tell the guys, you know what I mean?" And at the time, I was in Rachel Stamp, so I hooked it up that they booked Rachel Stamp to play the end credits, you know, where the credits go up and there's a rock band or whatnot, you know, a band in the studio. So it was cool. We doubled it up, you know. We got paid to be the Rachel Stamp, but also I was on earlier talking to Davina McCall about this story, you know. And I've just found a VHS of it a while ago, so I'm getting my friend to sort of bounce it onto, you know, digital modern format or whatnot, you know. So at some point I'll have a clip of that. But what they do is when I tell them about this whole middle finger malarkey, they go, "Well, if we can just pause you there, Robin, we've got that clip here. If you look to the right." And so my eyes went to the right, and they got like one of those massive studio type TV screens the size of the studio. It was like, you know, half the size of a house. And they played that clip where he puts the beaker down in full massive, you know, HD quality or cinematic quality. And then they paused it. with his middle finger up to me, and they put a big white circle around the finger, and the audience is cracked up, man. So all these little offshoots, it's a great little story, you know what I mean? That's why when you said Tales of a Faith No More story, I could just go, hey, I got a gig and he flipped me the bird, and it was kind of funny, you know. But you now know pretty much everything, you know.
I think that's perfect.
Who would be your dream band to play for?
That's a good question. I do love these questions because I'm so into music. I love folk music. I love rap. I love dance. I love hip hop. I love metal. I love hardcore, blues, jazz, orchestral, whatever. I love music. If it's good, I mean, I always say this thing, especially in my clinics. I'm like trying to sort of break down what I call musical racism, if you will. Like, oh, I hate hip hop, it's rubbish. Or I hate rock, it's rubbish. It's like, no, man. There's only two kinds of music. It's good and bad. There's bad folk. If there's bad metal, you know what I mean. There's bad blues,
Sure.
So if you like it, you like it. So for me, it's a very difficult question because, I'd love to play. I'd love to play in Motorhead and Iron Maiden and Motley and Rancid and Rob Zombie. And I'd also love to play for Kesha and Vanilla Ice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to have some fun, a bit of production. I mean, I'd love to play in a kind of a thing like, like what Rob Zombie's got, where he's got like robots and monsters and explosions. It's all a bit tongue-in-cheek. And it's just a big 80s rock show where you go and you pay your money and you come out exhilarated and entertained. And you've seen something a little bit different than, just a little musical soiree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not just all about, big bangs and explosions, but I mean, I'm still coming from the entertainment vibe, you know what I mean? And if you're doing these big shows, everyone has that kind of angle these days, you know what I mean? There's not actually that much difference between, like I don't know, Beyonce and Madonna show and Slipknot with the amount of bombs, pyros, smoke, confetti cannons, platforms moving. Do you know what I mean? You change the genre of music, but at the end of the day, a lot of people like big and bombastic. You know what I mean? But I'd love to do something like that. I love really heavy stuff and I love really chilled stuff. I think I'd probably get really bored if it was just one thing all the time.
Yeah.
So it is kind of tricky, whether at the end of the day, if you're in a band and you love the guys in the band or girls, and it's just a really cool, like I said, it's like a, brotherhood or whatever, and you share that intimate moment on stage in front of thousands. That's really cool. That's really special, and you're making something happen. But I would love to do something really, like big and really, a real event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Well, listen, under the premise that you have a rare day off,
yes.
What 2 activities do you do during the day?
Sleep. Sleep and ignore my computer. It's tricky because, you could say, well, if it was just, make-believe, you'd be like, you could invent some ridiculous scenario. But, actually these days, being realistic, if it's a nice day, I'm actually pretty much going to have a lot of pleasure going outside, mowing my lawn, you know what I mean? and you get that sense of peace and quiet, and it's just nice to see it all looking cool, being outside, breathing the air. Obviously I've built a hot tub in my garden, which I recommend anyone to do. It's definitely the way forward. So, sitting in that all day and all night is pretty cool.
Nice.
Jumping out to roast some hot wings on a barbecue would be even cooler, and then eating them in the hot tub. So, things like that, just kind of doing nothing, because, when your life's so full of running and rushing and traveling and meeting and talking and emails and phone calls and texts and Twitter and Facebook and social media and catching up and, all that, and learning songs and emailing and working out how to chase up bills and crazy stuff like that, people owing you money, and learning more songs and working out tour routing and why everyone at one point seems to be completely idiots, you know what I mean? Complete fools. Believe me, it's unbelievable. It's the stuff you have to deal with. It's nice just to completely turn off. So probably that, mowing my lawn, sitting on a jacuzzi or sitting on my sofa and just, hitting that remote and watching just movie after movie after movie, and eating way too much popcorn. I don't stop until there's none left, really. So I think, you know, I'm a man of simple pleasures, you know. So that's probably what I do. Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe it'll happen this year. You know, we get more than 3.5 days of sun. It could well happen, fellas. You know what I mean?
Well, who from any time in history do you invite over to hang in your hot tub?
Well, this is it. Well, they'd have to be good at barbecue too, because hot tub's not massively big, and you know, I think probably if I invite Lemmy, he's going to want it to himself. You know. Well, I mean, the thing is, I've been out on a few of these. Every now and again, there'll be like a drum bash, you know, a drum clinic thing or whatever, or a sponsor event, and a load of drummers will go out and have a curry or whatever, you know, from a company or from a drum event or whatever. And I think it's just the fact that drummers are kind of cool people. We just get on, we share a laugh, and I've just had some of the best times when you have a whole bunch of drummers just chatting, because we've all got, you know, war stories and crazy stuff. But the fact is, because all our lives we've been drummers, which basically means we haven't had an easy ride. We've always had to load our kit up in the rain, you know, borrowed a car. You know, it's not like slinging a guitar on your back and jumping on the tube or whatever, or, you know, writing some songs. Okay, I'm not belittling a guitarist or singer, but, you know, a singer's idea of packing up is putting the mic in his back pocket and going to the bar and meeting the ladies. You know, the drummer's always the last one off the stage, and, you know, it's loads of work. And I think it just makes you sort of more rounded as a human being, you know, if you've had to sort of really, really work for your buck, you know what I mean, or your success or whatever. And as drummers, we kind of have to do that. It's not really a case of writing a hit song and going, wow, I'm rich, you know. and so, yeah, and there's no egos, you know. You know, you're sitting there, you're talking to, you know, whatever, Nicker McBrain, you know, the Carmine Apps, you know, just these big legendary guys, and they're all super normal, super down to earth, very funny, like a laugh, like a drink, like eating, and just, you know. So I would probably, first off, I'd probably invite a whole load of drummers, you know, because it's going to be good fun, crazy stories. And, you know, we're just all going to get on and share that kind of, like I said, that kind of unwritten code, you know. Yeah. But if it was, like I said, if it was anyone from any walk of life, I think it would be good to, you know, bring back, you know, sadly from the other side, you know, some of these legendary stars that have, you know, passed on. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think, you know, Clive Burr from Iron Maiden recently died. Keith Moon. I mean, you know, you're going to have a party if he's involved. You know what I mean? That
probably try and fit a car in your hot tub.
Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, that's probably where I'd invite Lemmy, and he could just stop it. So that would be cool. You know, I mean, living. I mean, Cozy Powell, big rock drummer. Yeah. You know, he sadly died, you know, car accident. So, I mean, I just think these guys would just hit it off, get on really well, you know, and you'd have some great times. And obviously, I'd invite Stuart Copeland because, you know, I think he's, you know, he's a bit of a rabble-rouser, you know, and he'd probably, you know, fit in right as well, you know. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other drummers who we could bring down, you know. Just yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Well, what TV box set and movie do you watch in the evening? Yeah, hoping that Keith Moon hasn't taken the TV off the wall and thrown it out the window or something.
Yeah, I'm not patching up, you know, my jacuzzi with like, you know, Keith Moon wounds. Well, I mean, I think the TV, if I said the TV is probably the most expensive thing I own, that would lead you to think I've got a big posh TV. What I actually mean by that is I don't watch TV, but I paid a goddamn license.
Right.
But I just watch movies and DVDs, basically. You know, I don't watch TV. You know, so yeah, I'm just, you know, whether it's, I mean, movie box sets, like, you know, I go through phases and I'll be like, I've got to watch all the Aliens. I get the box set out, you know. Yeah. I've got to watch Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you know, and I'll hit that up. And then I'll go through the, you know, all the good, great box sets. You know what I mean? I'll try and go through those in a week or two or whatever, and just feel like, wow, that's it. I've lived through that, you know. I'm like a slow developer when it comes to sort of what's hot and what's not at the moment. But my brother recently got me into Breaking Bad, and it's the best drug I've ever had. I'm like one of those crazy. It's hit me like that. The meth addiction in the film. I'm just like, as soon as the movie finishes, I'm like, next episode now. But the good thing is, I'm happy ODing on it, because unlike sort of, if I watched it on TV, it'd be terrible pains, because I'd be like, oh my God, whereas my brother's just gone, here's like all the seasons, so I'm like, I've got millions of episodes. I'm just like, anytime I've got any space, I'm like, get me on that sofa, you know what I mean? Draw the curtains, turn off the lights, and put in Breaking Bad. So, I think after this, I'm gonna go and scratch that itch a little, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I've checked out a few other ones. I mean, I've got Band of Brothers. I watched that ages ago, and that's really cool. And I really want to watch that again. But I want to do it in, religiously, hit it do it all of them in whatever, a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, rather than do it and then you run off and you're busy for, you're always going to have stuff to do. But it's nice to kind of really sit there and, pummel drive it. You know what I mean?
Probably get into it.
Yeah, that's it. So
have you ever seen Dexter? TV show called Dexter.
Yeah. I was going to mention actually a while ago. This crazy lady lent me a few of those series. I think I watched up to series 3, and I really enjoyed it. Right. I liked that a lot. I think the early stuff. Can't comment about season. The latest sort of 4, 5, 6 maybe. Can't comment, but the early ones it was pretty hardcore. There was a lot of gore and a lot of crazy deaths going on there. But I thought that was pretty good too. That was very highly addictive as well. I was like, give me more. But yeah.
Cool. This has been absolutely fantastic. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And now we've worked out what questions to ask, we'll hit the record button. So.
Awesome. Yeah.
No,
well, I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. I mean, obviously there's been some funny stories.
Yeah, too right.
Got the best out of me. I hope they've all made sense, and I hope anyone who has got this far into the podcast has enjoyed my my tales from the road.
Cool.
And
Nice
I'd also like to mention, chaps,
that
knowing that obviously I'm doing a little bit of multitasking here, you see,
right.
And I've actually done this entire podcast while sitting in the bath. Can you hear
that's
this?
good to know.
It must be cold.
My aching and haggard body needs a soak, and I thought, well, I could do this while wandering around the room.
Right.
I thought, why not combine them and just sit in a big hot bath of Epsom salts and soak all my muscles while talking to the guys, you know what I mean? So there you go, podcast from the bath with Robin Guy.
Cool, nice one.
Lovely.
Cool, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. And
just glad it was a visual podcast, you know what I'm saying?
We'll do that next time.
Oh man, I might wear the puffy boarding mask for that, fella.
Go for it. The well pixelated one.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, and cheers for that.
Cheers, Robin.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Cheers, then.
Well, that was a fun-filled and action-packed episode, wasn't it, Quince?
Certainly was.
Good. So, the moral of this story, though, is when you play for Faith No More and they give you a badly pixelated mask, make sure that mask stays on.
Yeah.
Isn't that good moral?
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty
moral.
good moral. So, anyway, guys, if you want to check out...
Oh, hang on a minute.
What?
You owe me 20 quid.
20 quid for what?
Cormorants.
Cormorants?
Cormorants.
Well, what about bloody cormorants?
You mentioned cormorants.
Oh, that thing. Oh, yeah, all right. Could we sort it out afterwards, yeah?
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. Well, yes, Robin Guy is all over the internet, so go on to YouTube, type in Robin Guy, and check out his exceptional playing on there. He's on Facebook as well, facebook.com/RobinGuyDrummer, and he's also on Twitter, twitter.com/RobinGuy, and his website is robinguydrums.com. So go check it out and yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. There'll be another one coming out very soon. But until then, play your drums, have fun, and we'll see you later. Bye.
I've just come back and I've just done top of the pops today and I've played drums and faith no more.